Evangelicalism is Christianity with capitalism's characteristics. You're not completely wrong. You're not completely wrong, my friend. But at the same time, if we had like a Christian revolution in America, I would take it. Anything to overthrow this Epstein regime. For those who don't know, let's talk about Iran's revolution just for a quick second. I made a post about this recently about the very important figure in Shia Islam, Hussein ibn Ali. So, for those who don't know, what happened in Iran was they were under the rule of the Shah, which was a Western backed monarch, Western backed dictator. And Ruhollah Khomeini, not Khamenei, but Khomeini, the first Ayatollah of Iran, was a religious leader. It's called like a Marja something. I don't know. I was raised Christian, so uh, forgive me for my lack of understanding about Islam. But anyways, he gave a speech denouncing the Shah and comparing him to Yazid. Now, in the Islamic tradition, Yazid was this dynastic monarchical ruler who was sort of a representative of what the Islamic Caliphate, the Islamic State, had become, which was a hereditary dynasty, meaning they had kings that it was passed down by lineage rather than democratically. And Khomeini was arrested and imprisoned by the Savak secret police, the Shah's secret police, for comparing the Shah to Yazid, this figure in Islamic history. Now, Yazid famously killed at the Battle of Karbala this man in the picture, Hussein ibn Ali, because Hussein ibn Ali refused to legitimize Yazid's rule. And before any kind of uprising against Yazid could materialize, he was ambushed and killed. And this became a figure in Islam, especially important to Shias for his resistance to unjust authority. So basically, Khomeini was invoking this guy to say that this isn't just an abstract spiritual thing, but this has practical implications. If we are truly to follow the Quran and truly to follow our religion, we need to rebel against the Western backed Shah, the way that Hussein ibn Ali rebelled against Yazid. So he gave this speech in 1963, basically saying this, and he was imprisoned, which led to mass uprisings by his followers all across the country. And of course, these uprisings were put down very violently by the Shah with the help of the United States and Britain. And Khomeini was sent into exile. And over the next few years, this sort of theology, this idea that there were practical implications that should be drawn, put real political implications that should be drawn from the Quran and the story of Hussein, spread across Iran like wildfire. And that is what led to the 1979 Iranian Revolution, the Islamic Revolution, which ousted the Shah. They basically said, we're going to fight against this unjust hereditary dynastic rule the same way that Hussein ibn Ali did. And not only was it successful, but they were also able to completely kick out the West, nationalize all of the banks, and to nationalize all of their natural resources. So these no longer belonged in the hands of Western shareholders, corporations, and bankers. And, therein lies the real reason that the United States hates Iran so much and has always wanted regime change. Before that time, Iran supported apartheid South Africa. Iran was allied with Israel. Iran was basically a puppet state of the US. And since then, they've become a constant thorn in the side of the US, aiding the Palestinians, aiding Hezbollah, fighting Israel at every turn, and preventing their economy from being pillaged by Western shareholders. He was Muhammad's grandson, yes. Yes, I forgot to point that out. Thank you. So this is an extremely based and interesting form of revolution. a type of revolution that hadn't been seen in years at the time. It would be like in America if some really popular priest or pastor read Michael Hudson's theory about sin and debt and started preaching this ideology that Jesus was actually against debt and against the big banks and against the merchants and against debt trapping. And that led to a Christian revolution that was also socialist in its character, at least its economic character. So that's essentially what happened to Iran in 1979, and then Khomeini died in '89, I believe, and was replaced by Khamenei, who continued that revolution. And so while the revolution is not Marxist Leninist, it's Muslim in character. It's still extremely based anti-imperialist, anti-Western, socialistic, and the U.S. is sending young Americans to fight and die so that Iran can be turned back into a republic of McDonald's, so that Iranian women, rather than wearing the hijab, they can dress like hookers and have OnlyFans, which is why you see all of these Iranian monarchist women all over your timeline saying, I don't care if people in my home country get bombed. It's better than having to wear the hijab. And if you check their profiles, every freaking time they're in London, they're in Los Angeles, they're never actually in Iran. And they're saying, I don't care if we get bombed. And it's like, bitch, who's we? What do you mean we? You've never been bombed in your life. You're advocating for the people who live in your home country to be bombed so that you can go back to your home country and start an OnlyFans account. And it's truly like the most despicable traitorous behavior. And of course, ICE and all of the Trump's mass deportations, they'll never target these people. They'll never target the Cuban Gusanos or the Iranian monarchists because they make up part of Trump's base, because they hope that Trump will overthrow their home country. It's so vile. It is so vile. So that's a little bit about the Iranian Revolution that you should know, a little bit of background on that. And, sure, whatever. If you want Iran to be secular instead of Islamic, okay. Then why the hell did the British and the US coup Mohammad Mossadegh in 1953? Because Iran elected a secular leader named Mohammad Mossadegh. He wasn't a communist. In fact, he was an anti-communist, but the communists in Iran, the Tudeh party, supported him. Because he had left-wing economic policies, but because he nationalized the oil that was being controlled by the British, they ousted him in a coup and replaced him with the Shah. So even if you want to criticize Iran for being a theocracy, for having a religious leaning to their revolution, or really a religious basis to their revolution, that was created by the West too. They were going to be a secular democratic country, and then their secular democratic leader was ousted in a coup because he didn't let the US and the British have the oil. So there's really no criticism of Iran that the Western elites can make. No legitimate criticism, which is why you're now getting these ridiculous justifications. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. You know who passed the fatwa, which is like a religious law or a religious political code in Iran, that barred them from ever creating a nuclear weapon? It was Ali Khamenei himself. The Ayatollah who the US just killed was the one who issued a decree saying that we are not allowed to build a nuclear weapon because it's against Islam and the Quran. Because nuclear weapons kill people indiscriminately, so we're not even going to allow ourselves to have one. Khamenei was the one who passed that law, that fatwa. So the US kills him and starts bombing elementary schools and homes so Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. They're making it more likely than ever that Iran will produce a nuclear weapon because whoever replaces Khamenei probably will want to. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. They should have a nuclear weapon. If they did, none of this would be happening right now because the US would be scared. They would be free and living in peace like the DPRK. So Every justification is pure nonsense. These people are fucking idiots. And the Americans who believe it are literally cows. Their brains have been transplanted out of their heads and replaced with cattle brains. These boomers and these Gen Xers who sit watching Fox News with their mouths open, fucking drooling. Go Trump, go Trump, go, bomb them. You are the reason that Iran is probably going to produce a nuclear weapon now. And you claim that's your justification. They can't have a nuke. They can't have a nuke. You're going to pressure them into creating a nuke. Fucking idiots. These people have no idea about Middle Eastern politics. They think every group in the Middle East is the same.